Hey guys, welcome back to Daily Read. Once again, the working website is www.realhistoryww.com, and the WW stands for worldwide. Now, the last time we left off, we were at the so-called true negro. Okay, so once again, just scroll down and click on the so-called true negro. All right. So to give a recap, this is basically talking about where the term came from, true negro, which was a term created by non-blacks for specific variations of black peoples, not knowing that black peoples scientifically are the most genetically diverse peoples, and we come in many variations, many hair types, many phenotypes or shapes of the nose, the lips, the eyes, and the skull, etc., and even body types. You have a lot of black peoples with, blonde hair or blue eyes or green eyes or hazel eyes, gray eyes, natural mutations unique to them. But I digress. Moving on. All right. So we click on the reason of the true Negro, and we left off. I showed the Sultan with a tiger, the original blacks of Northeast Africa, now called Middle East, the Emir, Persian king, and we were down at Muhammad somewhere. Let's see if we can find where we were. Right here. Make this a little bit bigger. All right. So we left off right here, so I'm going to begin. In Muhammad's own homeland of Arabia, the end came late, but it came. In Arabia, the domination of Mecca and Medina by the resurgent black Wahhabi Muslims was a serious embarrassment to the Turkish Ottoman Sultan, who was, and I believe it's this guy here, Muhammad Ali Pasha, 1805 to 1848. Okay, so the Turkish Ottoman Sultan, who was the titular overlord of the Arabian territory and the leading Muslim sovereign. Therefore, at the invitation of Turkish Sultan Muhammad II, 1808 to 39, Muhammad Ali Pasha, an Albanian Turk, sent an expedition to Arabia that between 1811 and 1813 expelled the Wahhabis from the Hejaz. And Wahhabis were black skinned peoples and still are majority black skinned peoples. Okay. In a further campaign, 1816 to 1818, Ibrahim Pasha, the viceroy's eldest son, defeated the Wahhabis in their homeland of Najd and thus brought Central Arabia under Turkish Albanian control. With the taking of Arabia, whites now had control over all of it, the territories and the religions. And, and after each victory, they sought to ensure that the black man would never raise again in his former territories. The white man found that to accomplish this, there was a weapon just as effective as the sword or gun, the lie. With the lie, the white man was able to convince everyone, excuse me, that his own weakness, the pale albino-like skin that he wore, was a strength and denoted superiority. Thus, no meaning was to be given to the fact that unlike the normal and natural inhabitants of those lands, the white man found it necessary to completely cover his body in clothing, from head to toe, in order to survive the sunlight of those regions. There is no known record of what he told blacks to convince them to wear the total body robes that they now wear, but we know that it is not natural for them, as black skin is nature's natural protection against sunburn and skin cancer. And because the blacks of those regions wore light, attractive clothing before the white man's conquest, the black man's only consolation in all of this is that even as he endures through hardship in those regions that were formerly his, few pure whites still exist in the southern regions. They have been absorbed and replaced by a mixed race people who themselves have turned against the white man. The mainly mixed race people of Turkey keep petitioning to join the white European community, but that has so far not been forthcoming. The claim is that they are too different. And we're going to go to the power of the lie. So make this a little bit smaller. Okay, click this off. The ancient Persians understood the power of the lie. They were probably the first Middle Eastern blacks to have day-to-day dealings with whites. Owing to the large numbers of Aryans immigrating across their eastern borders, perhaps it was these white people that Darius the Great, 522 to 486 BC, had in mind when he inscribed the following on the south retaining wall of his palace at Persepolis. Inscription by Darius the Great, which is here to the right, which Persians, if you look at their pictures, were beautiful black peoples. Okay? Now remember, not all black peoples have the dominant hair type, which is woolly hair. Anyways, so the inscription reads as follows. Number 3, 12 to 24. Darius the king says, May Ahura Mazda bear me aid with the gods of the royal house, and may Ahura Mazda protect this country from a hostile army, from famine, from the lie. Upon this country may there not come an army, nor famine, nor the lie. This I pray as a boon from Ahura Mazda, together with the gods of the royal house. This boon may Ahura Mazda, together with the gods of the royal house, give to me. In Darius the Great's Behistun inscription, the lie is mentioned 21 times. Inscription 55, 436 through 40. Darius the king says, You who shall be king hereafter, protect yourself vigorously from the lie. The man who shall be a lie follower, him do you punish well. If thus you shall think, may my country be secure. And this says the changing face of Egyptian rule. Egyptian, and let me make this a little bit larger. Egyptian or Kemetic, Amenhotep III, 9th king, 18th dynasty. Greek, Ptolemy I, Soter. Roman, Emperor Constantine. Turk, Ottoman Sultan Selim I. Modern, Gamal Abdel Nasser, 1954 to 1970. Excuse me, guys. Somewhere along the way, the white man decided that it was not enough to proclaim himself superior. He must make blacks inferior, for reasons that will be explained. To this end, he instituted something that was not known to the world before: racism. No one knows exactly when it began, but it evolved into one of man's most vile creations. In the United States of America, it reached its zenith with the Dred Scott decision. Dred Scott, in March 1857, the Supreme Court of the United States answered a question that Congress had evaded for decades: whether Congress had the power to prohibit slavery in the territories. The case originated in 1846, when a Missouri slave, Dred Scott, sued to gain his freedom. So Scott argued that while he had been the slave of an army surgeon, he had lived for 4 years in Illinois, a free state, and Wisconsin, a free territory, and that his residence on free soil had erased his slave status. Here's a picture of Dred Scott to the left, and here's Roger Brooke Taney, Chief Justice of the United States. Okay? Chief Justice Taney delivered the opinion of the court, and by the way, that's the guy on the right side. and it read as follows. In the opinion of the court, the legislation and histories of the times, and the language used in the Declaration of Independence show that neither the class of persons who has been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they had become free or not, were then acknowledged as part of the people, nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument. Wow. They had for more than a century before been regarded as beings of an inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and trafficked whenever a profit could be made by it. And was at that time fixed and universal in the civilized portion of the white race. No one, we presume, supposes that any change in public opinion or feeling in relation to this unfortunate race in the civilized nations of Europe or in this country should induce the court to give to the words of the Constitution a more liberal construction in their favor than they were intended to bear when the instrument was framed and adopted. And upon a full and careful consideration of the subject, the court is of opinion that, upon the facts stated in the plea in abatement, Dred Scott was not a citizen of Missouri within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States and not entitled as such to sue in its courts. The white man taught racism in his schools and universities, and since by now he controlled most of the world and its media, everyone was taught racism. The New Student's Reference Work, 1914. Negroes. Negroes, a name given to most of the races inhabiting Africa, though it does not include all the inhabitants. The inhabitants of northern Africa, as the Abyssinians or Nubians, and the Hottentots of the south do not belong to the Negro race, which they say Hottentots. They're talking about the people we call Khoisan, to speak with the click. Okay? The physical characteristics of the true Negro are black skin. Let me go back to this because this is the main point of the term for the true Negro. This is their definition. Okay? The physical characteristics of the true Negro are black skin, woolly hair, flat nose, and thick lips. Their skin is soft, and in the infant is a dull red, becoming black very soon. The Negroes of the Guinea Coast, who are rude savages, have deep black color and ugly features. Other tribes of the interior are tall, well-formed, and warlike, and have some ingenuity in making implements from iron. The skull is long and narrow, with low forehead, prominent jaws, and retreating chin. As a rule, they are of a low order of intelligence, mechanical in their work, but capable of great endurance. They are of a less nervous disposition than whites, more frequently colorblind, have smaller lungs, and larger livers. The Negro has long been a prey to the slave traffic, being captured in large numbers and sold as slaves in other countries. The first slaves were brought to the United States in 1619, and this traffic was not discontinued until 1794, when it was prohibited by Act of Congress. The Spaniards began the trade, and King James and Queen Elizabeth both issued patents to the companies. Between 1794 and 1840, The trade was confined mostly from the African coast to the West Indies and Brazil. The coast of Guinea was the largest slave market, but inasmuch as they sold none of their own people, but relied on those captured in war or by stratagem, most of the slaves sent to the United States were of the pure negro type of the interior, while most of those taken to Brazil and the West Indies were closely allied to the Kaffir and Zulu stock of the eastern coast. The mortality among the Negroes is greater than the whites, attributed in the South much to the fact of their low condition and inattention to the laws of health. In the North, to their inability to withstand the cold and variable weather, as the diseases from which they suffer are mostly those of the respiratory organs. Therefore, the publication at frequent intervals of account of long-lived Negroes may be ascribed to the ignorance of their ages, and not to any exceptional tenacity of life. In disposition, the Negro, as a rule, is cheerful and peaceable, unconcerned for the future, inclined to live in colonies, and of emotionally religious instincts. Common amongst them, even to the present day, is the exercise of a certain form of witchcraft called voodooism, prosecuted by means of charms, philters, and fetishes. Fetishes? Okay, moving on. So that's where the term of the true Negro came out, which was the main theme of this section, the origin of the true Negro. Excuse me, I got a little cold, guys. Sorry about that. Anyways, moving on. But not content with the lie of speech, the white man in the 19th and 20th centuries created a scientific lies to bolster his claims. Okay, and we're gonna leave it at that today, guys. And we're gonna pick up where we left off. So thank you guys for listening, and hopefully you start to read. That's one of the problems with us; we don't read. Okay, guys. So thank you for checking out Daily Read. The working website once again is www.realhistoryww.com. The www is short for worldwide. Peace.